Did you know this kind of special bokeh effects can be created on camera without using Photoshop? In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how you can produce this kind of effect at home in a fun, simple experiment. Alright, my name is William Ong and I'm a photographer, videographer, and a content creator. I'm also a full-time educator. Bokeh, or some people may pronounce it Bokeh or Bokeh, it's a Japanese word. And actually it's a word used to describe the term in photography where shapes go out of focus, they turn into little roundish kind of shapes, especially if it's a light source, they turn into nice, pleasing, sort of circular looking shapes. Notice I mentioned roundish shapes because they're not perfect circles, they're more like polygons. It's basically because the number of aperture blades that we have in our lenses determine what kind of polygon it's going to be. In this example, the lens actually has 7 aperture blades. And for this lens, because it has 10 aperture blades, the resulting bokeh will form into decagons. So that's how it works, and we can reshape the bokeh into a variety of forms. Well, you will only need a few basic items. First of all, a small piece of black paper, ideally as thick as an average business card. I'm using 600 GSM paper here. A black color is ideal, but any other dark color is fine. And then you're going to need a pen or a pencil, a pair of scissors, small lights to form the bokeh. I'm using fairy lights here. You can use other light sources. You can even use like street lamps or city lights to form the bokeh if you want to. That works fine as well. A camera, of course, and a lens with a lens cap. Any lens will work fine here, but ideally the prime lenses are the best for the job. And as you know, the wider the aperture, the nicer the bokeh can look. So ideally lenses like 50mm 1.8 will be highly recommended. I'm using my 50mm 1.2 here, but any prime lenses will do the job really just fine. But if you don't have prime lens, you can still use your kit lens or other lenses. Just remember to open the aperture as wide as possible. For an optional stuff, you can include other small objects like figurines, little toys, and things like that to use as a foreground subject so that you can make the photograph a little bit more interesting. And a small light to highlight your subject. I'm using my Ulanzi VL49 lights, like really small LED lights here. You can use any light source that you have. You can use a study lamp as long as it's good enough to illuminate your subject. We'll start by creating a custom bokeh. First, let's draw a circle using your lens cap on the black paper so that you can get the size of the lens. And I'm going to cut it out using a pair of scissors. Notice that I'm cutting slightly smaller than the circle that I drew so that it will fit right into the lens. And check it fits. And then let's take it out, fold the paper in half, and I'm gonna draw a really simple shape like a heart shape here. You can be creative here, draw other shapes like butterflies or Christmas trees or anything that's symmetrical. And then we're gonna cut it out again using a pair of scissors. There you go, you got a heart shape there. And then put the card back in front of the lens just like that. Okay, I'm going to switch on the fairy lights to get started, and the camera settings are as follows. I'm going to be using the aperture priority mode. So this is shown as AV on the Canon cameras and just A on the Nikon and Sony cameras. By setting the shooting mode to the aperture priority, the camera takes care of the shutter speed, while we set the aperture settings. Because we want to have the aperture setting as wide as possible, like f1.8, f2.0, or f2.8, whatever that wide is that your lens allows to. And then the camera decides the best shutter speed to pair with. And for the ISO, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to set it at auto ISO. And then I'm going to be shooting on a manual focus mode. Let's get started now that we've got everything ready. You should be able to see the fairy lights turning into a little bokeh if you look through the viewfinder or the live view. And you can adjust your focusing ring to see if the bokehs look bigger or smaller and so on. And if your bokeh look upside down like this, you can turn your focusing ring to the opposite side, or simply you can just flip the bokeh card. And now that's a simple custom bokeh. But wait, there's more, because I think this bokeh alone is a little bit boring and uninspiring, so I'm going to use a small object that will serve as a focal point while the bokeh stays in the background. So I've picked this little teddy bear here, and I'm going to place it here. But make sure you have enough space between your subject and the background. If you put the subject too close to the background, the bokeh is not going to form, so bear that in mind. I'm going to add in a couple lights to shape the subject a little bit better. For this, I'm going to use my Ulanzi VL49 LED lights, which I mentioned earlier. And they're really small, so I'm going to place them. And there you get it. You can place a light from one side or both sides. Feel free to experiment and see what you can get. Feel free to try different things. And here's another example with slightly larger object. Since this object is a bit taller, I need to adjust the height of my camera. I'm just going to use a stack of books to do that, but you can use any object like a small tripod, anything that's sturdy enough to hold your camera and keep it steady. And since the object is a candle holder, I'm going to put a candle and light up to illuminate her face. So it looks nicer, but notice that candle actually is in sharp focus, so it doesn't turn into bokeh. So if you want to change it to heart shape, you can use Photoshop to do that. I'm going to leave it as it is. And again, make sure to focus on the subject. That's really important because if the object is out of focus, it won't be a nice photograph. And if you have cutters like these, you can use them to cut out different shaped bouquets. And they're really good idea to create your own custom Valentine's Day cards, Christmas cards, other season's greetings for your social media feeds, and so on. And there you have it, that's a custom bouquet. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. If you enjoy watching this video, you can click on all those whatever links that's appearing on the side here, and I will see you in the next video.